We are the Restaurant Brokers, and we sell restaurants.
We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm over a decade ago.
Atlanta, Georgia was our starting point, but our brand is spreading nationwide. We define restaurant brokerage and help buyers just like these.
Our dream, our goal, open up a restaurant, loving life, serving people breakfast and lunch, and then enjoying the rest of the day with them and ourselves.
Buying an existing restaurant, leasing a closed restaurant space, or purchasing a restaurant franchise. We help buyers satisfy their appetite for acquisition.
I'm part of a husband and wife team with this fella.
Working with my wife has been a lot of fun. The ultimate goal for everybody here is to make this work. And because we have different strengths, we bring different angles to the deal.
The process begins with our powerhouse website, WeSellRestaurants.com, where buyers sign online confidentiality agreements and browse restaurants for sale.
Then we send buyers undercover to check out a restaurant and decide if it's the right one for them.
Buyers get our proprietary business analysis tool with all the financial details on the business for sale.
After studying the restaurant inside and out, it's back to our office.
We are deal makers. We write contracts and negotiate terms for buyers and sellers. That's why we sell more restaurants than any other firm in the nation. We are the Restaurant Brokers. Our name says it all. That sound means you're back on the air with the Restaurant Brokers, Eric and Robin Gagnon, and we have been talking with some really amazing chefs and leaders of Southern-based concepts today. Now it's our time to turn that into the reality of the restaurant business, give you some advice and information. This is the time where we give you the inside scoop and unbridled truth about the restaurant industry. Eric, what are your thoughts? What's the reality of choosing a cuisine, a beloved cuisine like Southern, to be the real face of your business?
I tell you what, the quote unquote the Southern specialists today really brought it to home. I mean, it was a great show, and looks like Southern cuisine has expanded, or at least on a national level. And hopefully, the next time we have a show about Southern cuisine, it'll be on an international level, because this is very big. I mean, we're talking about Chef Jeff that's in New York, and he says, there's a lot of eateries and up and coming neighborhoods in New York that are doing Southern cuisine, and we have Felicia here that has been, the true Southern traditional here that they're doing well as well. And yet Steve that is expanding all over the Southeast with more and more eateries that are Southern flair. So I think it's very vibrant. We've learned a lot today about what makes Southern cuisine. I think that was very interesting about that. What is your takeaway on that part of it?
Well, one piece I thought was very interesting is about Steve. This is a gentleman who came out of consumer products background. So he was with Procter & Gamble and had all these other really interesting experiences in his career. But he said he chose a place to live in America based on a lifestyle choice for him and his family. So not having any background in the restaurant business, he bought a restaurant, and then he started applying what he knew about the business world. That's a very different approach, because so many times we talk about in restaurant reality chefs that have all the great skills. They can go into the kitchen and serve up a really incredible dish, but they don't have the background and the experience. They don't take a look at the hard numbers. And he said it was so great. He went down without knowing anything. For the first whatever period of time, he concentrated on the metrics and the numbers, and then he flipped. And his chef, he taught him that side of the business, and his chef taught him the operations side of the business. That is a great model for owning a restaurant, don't you think?
Absolutely. Now, that was a great point that you brought, because I felt the same way about this. Like, we're like two pistons. I mean, I was able to get the restaurant profitable. One of the big thing that he talked about, it's being profitable. And a lot of people kind of sometimes lose sight of that. I mean, you got to stay true to your business, but you also got to be profitable. But that's what creates opportunity. And that's also gets better pay to your team. So you have great talent. I mean, Jeff talked about how critical his staff is, but if you don't turn profit, you can't pay your staff more. They're going to go somewhere else. So I think it's a combination, and we see that a lot. We talk to some of our Robert Irvine and other people about how great chefs sometimes don't have the business aspect, or vice versa. This was a great combination. It's a good takeaway to learn about that. Work with the chef if you're a good business person, and vice versa, so you can have success and profitability overall.
Exactly. And I mean, he went from one restaurant to 13, I think, and 5 more on the books for 2015. So he obviously, that model is working really, really well. On the flip side, we have someone like Felicia Willett, who has a single restaurant, but she spent the early part of her career really being mentored by someone like Emeril Lagasse, and she took that experience and really used it to leapfrog her role and build her restaurant up. And the same thing for Jeff, because he came out of a Top Chef competition where he was a finalist. So again, we kind of go back to some things we've talked about earlier. If you get on this national platform, if you're able to be with some of these celebrity chefs or in a reality show where you're really kind of facing forward, what can that do to jumpstart your career on the back end? Of course, you still have to have those fundamentals. How do you cook? How do you operate? How do you measure? How do you become profitable? All those things.
Yeah, I mean, all of these chefs are well-traveled. I mean, they talk about even whether you travel Southeast, nationally, internationally, go to the Caribbean. I think it's very important to deepen your knowledge of the business by doing that and then go and see different culture that will influence. Because even if we talk about Southern cuisine today, we've talked about different states. We heard Tennessee, we heard Alabama, we even parts of Florida, we heard South Carolina. We heard cuisine like Creole, Gullah, Low Country, Cajun. All this fits into this. There's a lot of cuisine. I mean, you go to school like Chef Remo, learn one technique as French cuisine, but the Southern cuisine looks like maybe it would be a 10-year curriculum to really get or some kind of degree in that, Robin.
It would, and I think it was interesting. Everybody, they weren't going to share the real down and dirty secrets about their fried chicken, were they?
They were not. I tried to go there, but I got rejected, I believe.
Yeah, but it's clear that even though when we think Southern cuisine, we think that quintessential Southern fried chicken that went on the table after church on Sunday, that's not where it starts and ends. To your point, there's a lot of different elements. But again, to bring it back to the business aspect, the reality is that menu can be as broad as you'd like it to be, but to be careful and make sure that only you're putting forth the best and most profitable elements of your menu, knowing that every limited time offering you put out there, what is the cost of that plate of food to produce? What is the sourcing on that food so that you can explain it, market it, train it, have your staff understand it? Then how do you spice it, entice the customer to buy it more frequently, and what's the profitability of that plate? At the end of the day, if you can't do all of those elements, in addition to making it taste wonderful out of the kitchen, then you're not going to succeed in the business.
Yeah, and they talk about Jeff and Steve talk about putting a new spin on some of the classics, and I mean that's important not to stray too far away from the classic piece of it, but to do a new twist on it because the freshness of the ingredients. I mean, Jeff was the first one to say, hey, I'm in New York City. I'm getting great grits. I'm getting great ingredients over there. I mean, our ingredients are...
I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical. Grits in New York City.
I agree with that, too. But no, we'll take Jeff's word since we're not going to go to New York anytime soon. But, I mean, it is interesting that you see now more things. I remember Robin and I did a little stint in New York, and there was not a whole lot of fried chicken or any kind of Southern influence up in New York or even Hispanic influence years ago.
Homesick for good food when you were in New York.
It was. So you got to look at that. But this is something that if you have a restaurant right now, you may want to think about introducing some side dish, some different things with that Southern flair because it seems to be very popular. It's very tasteful. There's so many ingredients because we haven't even touched. We could have done a 3-hour show on this about, the South's got a lot of nuts, a lot of seafood that we haven't even touched, that we haven't discussed. I'm sure it's on their menu, but we just didn't have the time. So there's so many things in the South.
Absolutely. And, I don't want to close this segment without just airing one of those huge specialties in the South is barbecue, Eric. And I want to remind our listeners that we have different sorts of barbecue restaurants for sale right on our website right now at WeSellRestaurants.com. I've got a little barbecue place in Marietta, Georgia. Southern style flavors, great pricing. It's priced under $50,000, Eric. So somebody ready to get into the business that wants to go in there and do a reinvent. Maybe they're going to be like Steve Frabator and start with one unit and grow it to 13, 14, 15 in a few years' time. That'd be one they could start with.
Absolutely. 800 square feet. The rent's $850 a month. That's a very critical point for your success. So this is a great one for somebody to like a little roadside barbecue. We also have a little cafe in the Atlanta metro area. Listing number 4181 on WeSellRestaurants.com for those of you interested. Fully equipped. You can do chicken wings in there. You have all the furniture fiction equipment required to get your restaurant started. Low rent again, $1,200 a month. That is less than $11 per square foot. $35,000 for all the furniture fiction equipment ready for you to keep going in business, Robin.
So that's part of the reality of the business is to make sure that when you get in, it's at this low cost element potentially, especially if you want to do a turnaround on the business. And also that the fixed costs, things like rent, aren't going to drive you out of business before you have a chance to get started. We've got all kinds of articles, information, listings, all of those on our website at WeSellRestaurants.com. We also cross-post a lot of this to our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. Take a second, check us out on Twitter. Our handle's @SellRestaurants. We are your industry authority and source for information, and these are the restaurant brokers, Eric and Robin Gagnon.